Hello, and welcome to your Intro to Cryptozoology unit. My name is Frank Terando, Mr. Terando, otherwise known as your teacher's husband. Let's get started. Okay, so to begin with, cryptozoology, as the definition says here, it's a search for and study of animals whose existence or survival is disputed or unsubstantiated, such as the Loch Ness Monster and the Yeti. But those are kind of animals that live in myth and legend and folklore, kind of like Bigfoot. But you got the guy right here on the other side, the big cat-looking guy. That's a thylacine, also known as a Tasmanian tiger, and that is a real photo. That was a very real animal in Tasmania, and it was brought to extinction by the hands of mankind. That's the last known species that died in the London Zoo somewhere around 1930. What makes that guy crypto is about 80 years later, about 20 years ago, people in the outback started seeing him again, but there's been no specimen gathered. So, therefore, it's a real animal that shouldn't exist anymore, but people say it does, and that's what makes it a crypto. And Bigfoot, Bigfoot. Okay, speaking of Bigfoot, as it says here, many differing encounters throughout history and cultures. Physical descriptions remain consistent. And that's the key with Bigfoot. There are several types of Bigfoot that are described. You've got the freewheeling, easygoing Mr. and Mrs. Bigfoot here on the left. And then you got this guy who, the photo of him was taken by a park ranger about 15 years ago, as the story goes. So, and that is a typical type 1 Bigfoot right there, kind of like in the Patterson Gimlin film that I'm sure that you guys must have seen somewhere along the line. The old grainy 1970s footage. That's a more humanoid looking Bigfoot, and there are a couple different types. Ones with snouts look more baboon like, some that look more dog like. Yeah, it's a lot of weird stuff people see and they say is Bigfoot, but who knows for sure. And now we have lake monsters. You have Loch Ness Monster and Champ. Okay, Loch Ness Monster, little grainy photo on top. That's the surgeon's photo. And what really hurts cryptozoology is things like the surgeon's photo. Surgeon's photo was the gold standard for Loch Ness Monster sightings for years and years and years. And it was confessed to be a fake. Man who helped make the fake photo all those years ago, on his deathbed confessed that it wasn't real. He still had the little wind-up submarine that belonged to his son with the balsa wood head and neck, glued to it in his attic. And he told him where it was. His son went and got it and goes, oh my goodness, Dad, what have you done? And then you got a picture of Champ down there. That's Lake Champlain. And to the other side is a illustration of what somebody said they saw. And the thing about the lake monsters that, again, really hurt it is there's been no hard evidence, no photos other than what you see here. Really, we don't know what these things are. They're grainy, like in the case there. The Loch Ness Monster was a fake. But physically, a plesiosaur, which is what they deem these guys to be in the family of, their necks can't do that. So just the anatomical positioning of the head and neck just say, no, this cannot be a real animal, at least according to the fossil record, because what we think they're descended from, can't do that. But on the other hand, people have been seeing these things for years. I think it was over 700 years ago was the first recorded sighting by a monk of the Loch Ness Monster in Ireland. So that's 700 years ago was the first written recorded sighting. And then there were sightings of it before that, just, by word of mouth from the people in the area. And Lake Champlain, Champ, same thing. The indigenous Indian population of the area had been seeing something in that lake for years. So what are we dealing with? We don't know. It's a crypto. Nobody can find anything. But that doesn't mean that people aren't seeing something. It may not be a monster, but they're seeing something. Then you got chupacabra, okay? And there are thousands of descriptions of chupacabra. These are just a couple. The guy in the center, the weird little gray dog, that is actually a new hybrid species that's come about in the last 20, 30 years or so. It's a Mexican red wolf and a regular coyote, and they're really, really, really prominent populations out near Cuero, Texas, which is probably where this picture is, where the specimen is and where this picture was taken. They're funky looking animal. That's really how they look. No fur, big lumps on their hindquarters, and long canines, long front legs. Just really strange looking animals. But you got the chupacabra, the little alien guy with the red bug eyes, and then you got the weird little skinny guy in the corner. I mean, these are the descriptions run the gambit, and they first came about in the mid 90s, somewhere around 95, in the El Yunque rainforest in Puerto Rico. That was the first reported sighting, and people out there were saying that it's a demon. People have said it's an alien. Some people have said it's a American military experiment that was dropped out in the jungle just to reap havoc on the indigenous population of the area. And it's, who knows what people are seeing again, but there's evidence of something killing animals in a weird, weird way. And we don't really know if the specimens were properly cataloged, and really we don't know all of the particulars. There's been no hardcore science applied to it, to checking out what's really happened to these animals. So it's going to continue to be a cryptid, but it's one of the more fake cryptids in a lot of people's opinions, because there's so much diversity and non-consistencies in the descriptions and the stories of what people see. And in that case, again, it's like the surgeon's photo, where the more you try to help by embellishing your story, the more you hurt. And to be honest, if you see something, just tell the truth. If you don't remember, say you don't remember. It's not going to hurt. And now we have Dogman. Now, Dogman is, as it says here, present throughout North American, Native American history. Okay. These guys go way back into the historical records throughout the Great Lakes region. They've even been seen in through Canada and other parts of the U.S., even reaching out here to parts of California. Now, the weird thing about Dogman is, according to a lot of people, it's the one crypto that is the most likely to actually be, because it's not an entirely new species. It's more of a series of physical adaptations that a regular wolf has taken on, where people say when these things stand up, they hear their hips pop, meaning their hips reposition and pop out of joint and back into joint in a different way. So it's not an entirely new species. It's just an example of an animal that's learned to cope with pressures brought on by hunting from people coming into its territory, and it's learned a new physical trick to make itself more successful and survive. They are big, people say. They are smart, but then again, wolves can be big and smart too. So you got Dogman, and if you want to look into Dogman more, there's a lot of cool podcasts. One of them is Dogman Encounters with their host Vic Cundiff. They're really fun stories, kind of creepy, but it's cryptozoology. It's fun. It is what it is. Then you got Mothman from Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And this is one of the few examples of a flying humanoid cryptid. The The black and white photo to your left is supposedly a real photo from about the time that he was first sighted in Point Pleasant in 1968, and the color photo is, I think, from a TV show called Monster Quest. It's a frame grab of what people said they saw. Big glowing red eyes, big wings, furry creature, not really moth-like, but he got the name of Mothman. Now, Mothman has been seen multiple times, and shortly after, within 2 weeks or so, there has been some large-scale tragedy in the area. So he's thought to be an omen, like when you see him, something bad's going to happen, or he's the guy who actually causes it. The first was a bridge collapsing, killing multiple people in the area, and it really wasn't his fault. It was something faulty with the bridge. They found problems with the steel. It was inferior, and it had flaws in its construction, and that's what caused it. But either way, this guy is to blame in a lot of people's minds. And he's also gone on to terrorize a lot of people in the TNT area. And the TNT area is an area out there by Point Pleasant where it was a munitions factory in World War II. So there's a lot of old buildings, condemned buildings, just bunkers, things like that. And he's thought to live out there. And it's kind of a place where people go just to investigate, just to check out, to find him, to get away from other people. You know, you go to areas like that for a myriad of different reasons. But yeah, he's said to live out there and be very territorial and run people off of what he considers his property. You got Yetis and others from around the world. And okay, so you got your classic Yeti picture, which is a big white Bigfoot looking guy who lives in the snow. And then you got the funky little dude with the long hair. He's an orang pendek from Sumatra, same place that orangutans come from. And this guy's only about 4 foot tall, and he's supposed to be very intelligent. Villagers out there, it goes back years and years and years. They've always had problems with these guys. They're still out there. You know, people in the more remote areas still deal with them coming into their villages, raiding their crops. They say that they kill them every once in a while, but nothing has really turned up as far as remains. I mean, their remains look enough supposedly like an orangutan that it's really indistinguishable, other than by maybe genetic testing or a highly trained, individual who knows what they're looking at. But these people kill them and eat them, when they have problems with them. So there again is no physical evidence that can back up anybody's claims, other than a drawing or a footprint or something like that. And then you got the Yeti, who has been in the folklore of the Himalayas for years. It's revered to be or it's thought to be revered and a holy creature. That meaning can run the gambit as well, where if you see it, you could have good luck. If you see it, you could have bad luck. It just depends on the region that you're from. But more and more has come to light about the Yeti, and it's actually thought to be a relic species of bear, oddly enough, of polar bear. So not a primate at all, but what they think people are seeing is a large, very rare relic species of polar bear from the Ice Age that's just happened to hang on and carve out an existence for itself. So there is a example of a crypto, again, like the thylacine or Tasmanian tiger, that it's a very real animal, lived in the fossil record and was thought to be extinct, but may very well not be. And the only way to make sure, other than photos, is to get a physical specimen of this guy. And by getting a physical specimen, by going out and shooting one for science, you could in fact be driving the population to extinction, which is one of the problems with this kind of science. And now you got more of the weird supernatural guys like the Goat Man in the upper corner, who is said to live out in the TNT area by the Mothman as well. These guys coexist. They don't like each other. I don't know. I don't know that much about the Goat Man because he just seems too funky to be real. And according to this picture, it looks like he's standing over a body. So, yeah, obviously it's a fake picture. And then you got the rake down there in the corner, or in the right hand side, which is, I do believe, a creepy pasta. So that's more more or less a what, an urban legend, not so much a cryptid. And then you got the guys down at the bottom who are skinwalkers, and they actually are not photos of skinwalkers. I think, if I recall, they're actually photos here of Yaki or Yahi warriors in their finest warrior outfits posing for these photos. But I looked up skinwalker, and this is actually what came up as a skinwalker. And skinwalkers, they're cryptos, they're people, just regular people. They're medicine men, magic, purveyors of magic and sorcery and Native American folklore. Still do exist today. Very, very powerful people, according to some people in tribes throughout North America. Their whole role is they can wear the pelt of an animal and take on the physical characteristics of that animal, but they're not invulnerable, but they are said to be supernatural and very dangerous. And some people believe that when you see a dog man, it's because of the areas that they're in, a lot of rural areas, a lot of heavy Native American populations. They believe it's a skinwalker because the dog man can stand up and take on almost human attributes or human physical form, they say. So in many cases, they believe that when you're dealing with a dog man, you're dealing with a skinwalker. So skinwalker, they say they're real. People have said that they've dealt with them. Some people even say that they are a skinwalker. But again, never substantiated. But the belief, regardless, is there. And the belief is what gives the skinwalker power. People are afraid of these people. And so that's the end of my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you weren't too bored. It says here, next step is to think of questions to ask me tomorrow in our Zoom meeting. No question is too dumb because, believe me, no answer is too dumb, especially in cryptozoology. Anything kind of goes, which, again, a little bit of the problem, but ask dumb questions. I enjoy answering dumb questions because dumb questions, fun questions, make the presentation that much more entertaining for everybody, okay? And think about what cryptids you might believe in. Do a little research, investigate on your own. Go on the internet tonight and see what's out there. Go on to creepypasta, and see what creepypasta guys could be real, could be rooted in some sort of myth or folklore throughout history, and somebody just grabbed the idea of that and brought it to the internet and made it into something a little bit different, but still based in somebody's folklore. Like I said, have fun investigating this stuff. Think of a lot of questions. Heck, man, even draw a picture of what you think something might look like. I'd be willing to see it. I'd love to see it. I'd love to hear from you guys. So that pretty much concludes our time together so far. And I look forward to talking to you on the Zoom meeting. Later.